Morning everybody, it's Chris here, Serene Education. It's the 18th of May today, Wednesday, a breezy Wednesday outside. Just going to be going over the CTC strategy this morning on our four majors. I'm going to be starting with the Euro against US dollar. Let's have a look at the daily. Okay, so we've seen the Euro pull back for this pair on a prior support and resistance area at the 14.05, so 1.05 area. You can see we've had prior support and prior resistance at this level, and we've seen price revert to the upside. In this little channel to the downside, we'll notice this was swing low and this was also a swing low. You'll see that price yesterday closed higher, and Asian market trading has taken this higher as well. And where we're heading to now is the underside of the 50-period moving average, or the prior, there we go, the prior stop or the prior support at this area, roughly around the, I've gone for a round figure of 14300. So, and you must also notice that we've also broken out below the 50-period moving average, and we've had a consolidation pullback. Are we going to see price fail to break higher here, and then we're going to get our extension to the downside? If that's the case, if I'm just going to use for an example for projections, if you use the 50% as our area, we'll see price fell at. Let's just take it to that area there, so we see a fake out. These are the extensions to the downside where you can see price revert to. So 100% of the initial move is primarily the one that normally happens. So if that there is expected to happen if that's the continuation, and you can see we would take us down to around about the 13500 mark, and overextension of that would take us way back down to prior support and resistance on a daily, way back down to 129.50. So we've broken the major uptrend. You can see that, right? Broken, pullback, continuation. That's the likely setup to occur because we're trading below all the moving averages on this time frame. We will need to be trading well above all this, an extension to the upside to confirm that this was just a pullback for this. Just a major pullback on a long-term bull trend. So failure to break higher than at least the 143.50 or fail to see the price trading above the previous major swing to the downside of 14400 would confirm that this is just a bear pullback or just a consolidation pullback before we see further extensions to the upside. If it fails to break above this area here going into next week, then there could be a clear signal that we're looking for further downside movement on this pair. So intraday, we could see a bit of consolidation as we head towards the 143.50 mark. There's still some upside movement there, don't get me wrong, but also remember that there's a prior swing at that level, or at 14300. So ideally, going into the US session today, we'd obviously like to see price trading above that, but in my eyes, we're going to see the consolidation, so I'm just going to put that in, 143. You can see price is trading at it now. There's another one roughly at the 1440. So you can see straight away that price support on a 4-hour time frame. Now we've seen resistance and a further resistance. It needs to be trading above this area here to confirm further upside movement. The 200-period moving average, the moving average, just a small little glint there of the green moving average, is there roughly around the 144.50 mark, and that's the major resistance. You can see we've had price support. So there are two ranges here for this pair, but on a daily we're trading below all the moving averages on the 50, well, the smaller time frame. So we've got to take into consideration we've broken a major trend now. So in order for it to look bullish again, it needs to be trading higher than all of that. So it's going to do a lot of work to get up there. We are trading negative. The swings are lower on a 4-hour. You can see if this can break above 14300 and trade above it, then you're breaking the trend, and then that's giving you a definite confirmation that we're seeing a bullish sentiment creeping into this downtrend. And if that's the case, then we should look for further upside movement. But I think we're only going to get a definite, genuine bullish sign to the upside if we're trading above the 200-period moving average on this time frame. So you have to wait your time and wait to see a definite confirmation breakout above 1445.50 to give you that upside movement on this time frame and for the daily. Intraday looking bearish because it's still trading below the 14,300, and so just treat it as that. We have a swing high, so we need to be trading below that to definitely get a confirmation breakout to the downside. So if we look at the smaller time frames, the hourly for example, CTC is in our favor. Anybody who's long on euro should be looking at possibly consolidating, tightening your stops, because the 200 period moving average is now in play on this time frame. As I mentioned, it needs to be trading well above 14300 to be considered as bullish, because we now have a strong resistance level at this time frame, or even better, to be trading above the 1440 mark, which is still some way away. There's still profit to be made at this time frame. So we can see a definite break and close above 14300 on an hourly chart, and the CT still in our favor. Then we could definitely look at a possible target being the 1440 or the 14400 mark. Failure to do so, we should be looking for opportunities to this downside, because you're going to get consolidation, and because we're trading bearish on a daily, we should be looking for only opportunities to the downside for that, because this is just a counter trade. CTC 15 minutes same, 30 minutes also the same, consolidation now. Failure to stay at these levels here would definitely see, or failure to stay above this swing, the price swing to the upside at 2450 as a consolidation on a prior resistance. If a breakthrough here would definitely confirm that the negativity is definitely creeping into the market, and so this up move here is just a consolidation. If it stays above this 2450 mark going into the US session this afternoon, or the latter part of this morning's trading, then we could definitely see a reattempt of the 14300 mark, and a break above that going into the latter part of today would definitely confirm that we're still seeing further upside movement for the euro against the US dollar. Okay, next up on our CTC analysis this morning is the sterling against the US dollar. Let's have a look at daily. Here again, like its euro counterpart, we are trading below the moving averages. Clear sign that we're seeing bearishness creep into this pair. CTC, however, is still extended on this on this template, or on this pair. Remember that the CTC is lagging though. Okay, it's great for long-term setups. Intraday, on the long-term pattern, you can see it definitely gives you the indication of the breakouts, but you must be aware of where price is trading relative to the support and resistance in the trend line. In this case, we are trading lower than a previous support area and below the 50 period moving average. So it needs to be trading well above 16,300 in order to be still confirmed as bullish, because as you can see here, the extension now, the swing or trend, you can see price is trading the underside of that. And if you look at this over here, for example, if you go for the majority of those, we're trading well below the trend direction. And because we're doing that, we're seeing the extensions to the downside. We're getting lower swings, which is what you want. Low swing, low swing. Here we're testing. It looks like it's breaking out, but unfortunately we're still hitting the underside of the 50 period moving average. So now it's broken out, pulled back. That pullback now is where the 16,300 mark is. Price needs to be trading well above that. The sterling needs to be trading well above that in order to give us an indication that we've now broken this trend direction, and we should be looking, as this is just a consolidation as per the euro, just a pullback before we see another extension to the upside. Failure to do so would just confirm that this is a pullback, a breakout of a prior support area, a pullback, and then possibly another extension to the downside, because we're still failing to break above the 50 period moving average. Remember that moving averages act as a resistance as well, and if you have a breakout to the downside and where we had prior support, which was quite strong, then if we don't see price revert to the upside, it's a clear signal that there is this is just a consolidation breakout. People who had actually sold here are taking profits back to a point, in this case the 16,300, which is the 50 period moving average, before we see further people getting to the market to the downside, and we could see prices in this case the major one to look for is the 1600 mark. We've been there. There's a lot of support in this previous case. You can see resistance way back in January, then a hell of a lot of support over the coming months for this pair. So Just factor that in. Okay, so intraday we need to see price trading well above the 16,300, which will take us about the 50 period moving average, and by doing so would have actually broken this trend and given us a heads up. Listen, the market sentiment is changing, we are trading above, and then we should be looking for an opportunity to get back into this pair, possibly to the upside in the coming days or weeks. Failure to do so, should be looking for opportunities to the downside. So intraday, make a note of that. On your hourly is the 16,300. Price needs to be trading above that area. Failure to do so will just confirm as just as consolidation pullback with possible extensions to the downside following. Notice the 200 period moving average, a small smidgen of it is coming into play, which is roughly around that 16,300 by the time price reaches that. We are seeing higher swings on this consolidation, so it's confirming that we are seeing upside movement. Be aware though, resistance, breakout, resistance. So there's 16,300, definitely a clear resistance and support area at this level. Needs to be trading well above that, so don't touch this trade wise to the upside until we have that break above that area at least confirmed, especially on a 30-minute and hourly chart. Next up is my analysis on the US dollar Swiss franc. Let's have a look at the daily time frame. Okay, here again, very interesting. A lot of our students we just had this previous weekend, if they're still in this, will still be short to the inside and will well in profit. Price failed to break above a prior support area. Very strong one, run the 89.94, 89.95 mark. CT well extended in our favor. We're still swinging low, and that failure here has now created another swing low. So anybody looking for opportunities should be looking at further selling. So bit of consolidation on the underside of the 20 because we've now broken through the 20 period moving average. It needs to stay below this. Price might break up and test it. We might get a wick to the upside, but as long as price can revert back to the downside and we could see a definite close lower today or going into tomorrow's session, lower than the 20 period moving average to start with, or ideally this prior consolidation here. You can see we tested it during the evening, but if you can see a break lower than that, then what we could see is price trading lower. So at the moment now, this low here, the ceiling low or the support low is 880. So 0.880. Got to break below that to give a confirmation of further downside movement. So we could see consolidation. However, if we can't break higher, then we're just seeing a consolidation of this little breakout that we're seeing now on a smaller time frame. A break lower than the 0.8800 mark would definitely confirm further downside movement for this pair. In a negative trend anyway, this failure here, we have to see price trading well above this or the break of this trend line to even consider this is just a bounce back and then a continuation to the upside. It needs to break this prior swing here to definitely be confirming downside move, because then we'll be definitely trading against the with the trend. So failure at 0.8800 today would be a good signal for further downside movement, because we have seen a failure at a long-term trend line, trading below all the moving averages in the CTC in our favor. So intraday, look for possible breakouts to occur to the downside. We'll just use, say for argument's sake, the 8800. If I can find the 8800, so that's 95. There we go. That is the area it needs to break and close below. You can see there's a bit of wicks below, so argument's sake, let's take those wicks into consideration because there's quite a few of them. So definitely close lower than the 0.87850 mark will definitely give us a clear indication of further downside moving. Notice the big swing to the downside on this time frame. We come from a high that we saw up here. Now we're swinging low, and the 200 period moving average as we speak is testing the underside of it. So failure to break higher than the 200 period moving average at this level here would definitely confirm this is just a pullback on this downtrend here. So this is just a pullback, and funny enough, at the 38.2% fib area, failure to break that trend line would definitely see this as just a consolidation on a downtrend extension. So need to close lower than 87850 to definitely see opportunities further to the downside. And our first port of call, if it broke this level here, would be the 8710 mark. Next up is the last pair of the day, the US dollar against Japanese yen. Let's have a look at the daily time frame. Okay, you can see the extension, US dollar yesterday giving us that up candle, creating a new swing high, trading, and then coming into contact with a prior resistance level. As I mentioned, needed to close higher than that to obviously give us an indication of further upside movement, and failed to close above the 20-period moving average nonetheless, but it failed to close above this prior consolidation area, roughly at the 81.50 mark, and by failing to do so, there was likelihood of a possible pullback to occur, and sure enough, on the Asian market going into this morning's European session, we've seen price reverting to the downside. Be aware that long-term, the CTC on this strategy is the US dollar is weak against the Japanese currency. Notice that there's a lot of consolidation around this area here at 81.50, and because we're trading, this is potentially look at it as a possible breakout. So if you take the high of this here, where we saw after the intervention, and a failure of that intervention and a failure of support at the 200-period moving average, we saw price revert to the downside. Now we would like to see if this, argument's sake, if 81.50 is a resistance level. As we can see, this is price support. If this is a resistance level, because we're trading below the support now, if price fails at 81.50, this could be a consolidation resistance, and if so, could we see a possible extension to the downside now? Likelihood is it's quite true, because notice that the US dollar is still very negative for this pair. Ideally, we wanted to see this extension continue, i.e. intervention, the breakout, consolidation above 200-period moving average, above a range, and we wanted to see a kickoff on that. But we didn't. A failure of that support level here at 83.50 saw price pull back, revert to its current trend to the downside, and we're now trading to the underside of a strong support level. So breakout, so break, consolidation, breakout, consolidation, pullback, failure at 81.50 or the 8200 mark, or the 50-period moving average in this case, in this area here, could possibly see the US dollar continue to fall to the downside. If that's the case, then extension, let me get this right. So let me do it again, apologies guys. So this would be the high, this is the pullback, and for argument's sake, let's use the 81.50, or if possible, we might see another reattempt of 8200, but let's go for 81.50. Okay, definitely a strong support area in that level. These are the extensions to the downside. So 23.6, roughly around the 80 mark, or 80.10 mark would be the first port of call. 38.50. Now, it normally happens 100% of that extension. So you can see where it is now. 61. Can't even get 100. 100 is way down here. A long way away, guys. 81 is 75.65. So factor that in. 50% is 78, just the bottom end of this, the consolidation where the intervention occurred. So heads up. Japanese yen needs to be trading above the 81.50 to be still considered as a possible buying opportunity. Remember, the CTC is still negative. We're still negative long term. 20 period still hasn't been breached yet. Okay, so it's very, very important you get that right. So intraday, we should still be looking for opportunities to the downside, because we're now trading the underside at 81.50. If we see price revert to the upside and close higher going to the US session today above 81.50, then we could have a definite movement to the upside, and we should be looking at possible other swings to the downside, i.e. here at 82.20 as a possible target. But until such time it's not trading above 81.50, we're only looking for shorts. So intraday, make a note of that. So on our hourly chart, 81.50 there. Look where price is trading relative to where 81.50 is. A long way away. And we've got a major swing low to the downside on that pair. And look where it's trading at the moment now. Also below a prior support and resistance level on this time frame. And it's trading below the 50, and 4 hours now it's failed to break higher. So failure to break above 81.15 on an hourly time frame is giving you a possible heads up. Listen here, we've seen consolidation, but if it fails to break higher than this and close higher, there's no way you're going to see further extensions to the upside, because even if it does get there, it needs to break this trend above, because this is a swing low. That there has formed a swing low. Consolidation, swing low. So look for further extensions to the downside, and then there are possible areas where we could see movement to the downside. There's one noticeable one here at 80.70 on this time frame, another one down here at 80.45, but ultimately, as I mentioned, failure. We've got that uptrend taking place, so we could see price reverting down to where the uptrend is. In this case, we're looking at the prior swing high, or the bottom of this up candle, yesterday's candle, as a possible target. So roughly around the 80.75 mark, 80.75. So intraday 80.75. Let's have a look at that as a possible target. 80.75. Yeah, where my swing, or my trend, or my swing trend, my long-term horizontal line is at the moment here as our first target. So failure here at 81.15 or 81.20 to find any upside movement there, would definitely see price reverting to the 80.70 mark as a first target. CTC on this time frame is negative, so 30 minutes should be giving you a negative signal, 50 minutes should be giving you a negative signal, and your 5 minutes. That's it for today, guys. Hope you have a fantastic trading day. It's midweek, that much closer to the weekend. News-wise, let's have a look. What do we have? Well, a bit on sterling this morning at 9:30 a.m. GMT. So look at those Claremont count changes. We've got some meetings at that time. We've got average earnings index, the 3-month year. What have we got? We got 9:30. There's quite a lot of news coming out at 9:30 for sterling. So heads up. So don't trade sterling until we have a clear indication of what's coming out at that time frame. There's unemployment rates. They're expecting 7.9 up from 7.8. Then this afternoon we've got Canadian wholesale figures month on month. Then much later this evening, GMT 6:30, 7 o'clock PM GMT, we've got FOMC member Fisher speaking, and the minutes. So heads up, make a note of that, guys. See if there's anything inside there news-wise. I'd look to the sterling to see if we get any indication. Not many changes. I don't expect any changes. The Claremont, they're expecting a lower figure. Previous was 0.7k. They forecasting 0.4. If it comes out further negative than that, then obviously we're going to see probably factoring into price movement today. But otherwise, trade serenely. Enjoy your trading and keep it simple. Take care.